clock has endlessly been on the move.
The Right Honourable Speaker.
Equally symbolic of the ever-enduring growth and enrichment of the Kenyan democracy, but a silent yet indispensable tool in the evolution of the Kenyan legislature has seen it all. The House Standing Orders, now on the 7th edition, and yet again ripe for the end of term review pursuant to National Assembly Standing Order 264.
I wish to inform the House that the Procedure and House Rules Committee has officially embarked on the end of term review of the National Assembly Standing Orders pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 264. Accordingly, I now invite committees, individual members and parliamentary staff, members of the public and all stakeholders to submit any proposals they may have for consideration by the committee.
Following that communication from the Speaker on the 1st of April this year, the Procedure and House Rules Committee officially embarked on the end-of-term review of the National Assembly Standing Orders, inviting committees, individual members of Parliament, parliamentary staff, members of the public and all stakeholders to submit any proposals they may have through the office of the Clerk of the National Assembly by the 31st of July 2026 for consideration.
The Procedure and House Rules Committee is encouraged to undertake a thorough and open-minded examination of all aspects of the standing orders, including, among others, the system of governance and the bicameral structure of Parliament, noting procedural challenges and opportunities, the committee system with focus on size, composition, mandate, operations, tenure, efficiency and effectiveness of such committees, oversight mechanisms, particularly in areas that may not have received adequate attention, such as the budget process and oversight of budget implementation and the national debt.
This will be the 7th such review of the House Standing Orders since independence in 1963. But why is this periodic review of the House Standing Orders important? Drawing from experience of past such reviews and observations from other parliamentary jurisdictions, review of House Standing Orders is deemed conventional considering the ever-changing landscape of political governance and the need to refine procedures and to keep pace with the emerging trends. In the past, though, such changes in standing orders have also been informed by the socio-economic realities of the time, such as in the year 2020, when the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic saw the National Assembly amend standing orders to allow for the conduct of proceedings in exceptional circumstances, when physical sittings of the House or committees may not be possible. The first review of House Rules of Procedure was conducted in the year 1966, following amendment of the Constitution to abolish the Senate. That review mainly focused on deleting procedures relating to relations between the two houses and incorporated new procedures to entrench unicameralism. Subsequently, the period between 1966 and 1991 saw minimal changes to the standing orders until the 7th Parliament, following repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution to re-entrench multi-party politics in the country. The amendment of the standing orders then sought to facilitate transaction of business in the House, bearing in mind the multi-party arrangement that arose from the changes. The offices of the leader of the official opposition, opposition whips and opposition or backbench days were some of the new provisions that were incorporated just before the commencement of the 7th Parliament in 1992. Further proposals for a comprehensive review of the standing orders were made at the peak of the clamour for constitutional reforms during the 8th Parliament. The proposed changes majorly focused on demystifying Parliament, allowing gender-responsive rules, invigorating committees, opening up chamber proceedings and committees to the public, including allowing live broadcast of proceedings and institutionalizing multipartyism in all parliamentary aspects. At the time, there was a general expectation that a new constitution would be in place before the end of the term of the 8th Parliament. Nonetheless, by the time the House was dissolved on the 25th of October 2002, a new constitution had not been promulgated, and this derailed the intended comprehensive review of the standing orders. At the onset of the 9th Parliament after the 2002 general election, the draft report from the immediate former Parliament became the primary document for the third comprehensive review of the House standing orders, an initiative that was spearheaded by a subcommittee led by then Deputy Speaker, the Honorable David Musila, with such other members as the Honorable Paul Muite, the late Honorable Otieno Kajwang, the late Honorable Mutula Kilonzo, the Honorable Nyaga Wambora, and nominated MPs Honorable Njoki Ndongo and Honorable Esther Keino. This review introduced fundamental changes, including the introduction of private member bills and recognition of political party caucuses. It also introduced a provision for recall of the House during recess by members of the opposition, for as long as one could garner signatures of a majority of the MPs. A provision for petitioning of Parliament, which was then rare, was also introduced, as well as insertion of the Kiswahili prayer in the rules of procedure. The changes also introduced the requests for statements from cabinet ministers and limitation of speaking time in debates on bills, committee reports and sessional papers, which was then unlimited. And with the establishment of the Government of National Unity in the aftermath of the disputed 2007 presidential election,
Honorable members,
the 10th Parliament undertook the third comprehensive review of the standing orders. Under the leadership of then Speaker Honorable Kenneth Marende, the House enriched the report from the 9th Parliament by including rules on parliamentary broadcasting and opening up House plenary sessions and committees to the public.
Honorable Prime Minister.
The amendments also introduced the Prime Minister's question time to allow the Prime Minister to make a statement or respond to questions put to him relating to matters of government policy or the general performance of the government and its agencies. The number of departmental committees was also increased from 8 to 12 by splitting some of the committees with wider mandates such as health, housing, labor, sports and social welfare.
We have a new constitution.
Then came the promulgation of the new constitution on the 27th of August 2010 that introduced a bicameral parliament. The Procedure and House Rules Committee, jointly with the Committee of Experts, analyzed the impact of the constitution on the workings of Parliament, with particular focus on, among other things, the process of vetting and removal of persons, inclusion of the Committee on Appointments, update of the finance and budgeting process, and inclusion of provisions reflective of bicameralism, among others.
His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta.
And as bicameralism eventually kicked in with the 2013 general election, the National Assembly in the 11th Parliament, under the leadership of former Speaker, the Right Honorable Justin Muturi, undertook comprehensive review of the standing orders to deal with, among other areas, the financial and budget-making procedures, provision for the legislative interface between the two houses of Parliament, and the process of removal of persons from office, including the removal of the Speaker, among others. The final comprehensive review was undertaken by the last Parliament and introduced, among other changes, the increase of membership of the Chairperson's Panel, also known as the Speaker's Panel, from 4 to 6. It also created additional departmental committees to increase specialization and efficiency, and the creation of a committee to examine matters relating to public debt and privatization. The House Rules and Procedure Committee thus has its work cut out as it embarks on what will be the 7th comprehensive review of the House Standing Orders.
In particular, urge committees to undertake an honest appraisal of the committee system, including its structure, scope of mandate, compliance with the constitutional and statutory requirements, operational practices, effectiveness of current legislative oversight mechanisms, handling of public petitions, and/or any gaps in the standing orders, and propose recommendations for improvement.